Beyonce once said, "Power is not given to you, you have to take it." So please welcome Bushra Amiwala. Let's go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Oh, come on. No one's going to say hi back to me? I never thought I'd be that person to get on stage and, demand someone say hello back to me. So, hi, everyone. Okay, all right, that's good enough. My name is Bushra Amiwala, and I am the youngest Muslim elected official in the United States. Thank you. Thank you. I was officially sworn in last night, actually, so I can officially say that now. And, my journey in politics, it's one that I think was unprecedented. I never thought that I would be one to run for office. I felt like I could never imagine myself in a space where I didn't see someone who looked like myself already there. And growing up, I was really involved in service work, and I felt like that's as to the extent of my involvement politically really went. It wasn't until the summer of 2016 where I had a lot of friends tell me that they'd be voting for Donald Trump to be president, and I wanted to better understand what issues are people willing to compromise to vote for someone as such, and what those issues really are. So I wanted to get a firsthand look of what it meant to be Republican. So I went and I wanted to work for the most powerful Republican person in the state of Illinois. So I Googled it, and it was our US Senator at the time, Senator Mark Kirk. And I was like, I'm gonna work for him and see what this is all about. And I began as his head field intern because I knew with that position, my role would not go beyond going door to door, talking to various registered Republican voters, and asking them a series of 5 questions that the policy team would later translate as Kirk's policies. And it was the first question on that list that really did it for me, that sort of made me realize that this is what the lack of representation looks like. The first question on that list was, on a scale of 1 to 10, how fearsome are you of an Islamic terror attack on US soil? And what shocked me more than just asking the question itself is the response 10, very fearsome. And I inserted my question 1.5 as I went on working on his campaign, which was why? Why? And most of the time, people said, well, you're the first Muslim person I've ever met. And hearing that, I always figured, well, what can I do to change that, right? So I worked with, 5 different nonprofits, the 5 days of the week, and it was someone on Mark Kirk's campaign after he lost his re-election in 2016 that called me and said, you should run for office. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm 18, I can't do that. And they're like, well, of course you can. That's the legal age to run. And what's interesting is the question that came after was, after I was convinced to run, I was like, oh, will you all endorse me now? And they're like, no, you're a Democrat. We're a Republican. Why would we endorse you? So I shared this to showcase how naive I almost was when I got involved in this political process, and that's okay. Because when someone would ask me a question and I wouldn't know the answer, that doesn't mean 10 minutes later, I do know the answer, right? And it was every day I was learning on the campaign trail. But the first time I ran for office, I was 19 years old, and I ran against a 16-year Democratic incumbent. Bold, I know. I thought he was gonna retire. And I lost. And I think something that we don't talk about enough is how difficult it is to lose publicly as such, and sort of what to do afterwards. So I had 2 thoughts on election night. One was, oh my gosh, good thing I have all these friends, because I got 400 text messages on election night, right? From supporters and friends and this and that. And the other thing I thought was, I'm never running for office again. This was terrible. And a week after my election, I got a phone call from the person I ran against, and we got breakfast, and we sat down for breakfast, and he said, so what are you running for next? I was like, excuse me, I just ran against you. What do you mean what am I going to run for next? And he told me that he has a granddaughter who is 9 years old. So he's like, you have 10 years on her, but I hope in 10 years she ends up just like you. And thank you, I know, it was really sweet. And he asked me to run again, and he wrote me a check, and he connected me to the people that I needed to be connected with, who later endorsed my campaign, and now I can stand here in front of all of you and proudly share that I won my election. Thank you all. And I mean, huge shout out to the run team. Couldn't have done it without them. Huge shout out to my campaign manager, Kevin, and everyone else along the way. So I now have no seconds left. So thank you all.